All right. Take two. Welcome to the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast. My name is Demetrius. This podcast is just for fans of Detroit sports in general, the Detroit football Lions in particular. I think that we will talk almost exclusively football today, but I also want to probably just mention that I like where the Pistons are going. They've been getting some heat about the trade deadline and what they're doing. I'm not worried about Troy Weaver. We will talk baseball if baseball ever comes back. We'll see how that goes. I had a little glitch at the beginning, had to do a restart. Part of me thinks it was a good thing, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. So if somehow the first part of the podcast came through well and you heard me sort of lose myself in a little bit of anger, I'm not apologizing for that. I will say it a little bit more succinctly this time. As a fan of the Detroit Lions, I know who I am, right? I know who my team is. I know what my team is. I don't really struggle with any of that, right? So this is just my podcast. It's not a big deal. I'm not beholden to any company or anyone who has rights to it, right? So here's the deal. I'm going to say right off the top, Stephen A. Smith, you can go to hell. I don't like you. I don't like anything about you, right? I don't really love the four letter that much, but here's the deal. Stephen A. Smith, you can go directly to hell on a train or a boat. I don't even care. This dude, fine. There are people who love him. I'm not one of them. His whole shtick, I'm over it. And I'm going to get to the Lions and the Super Bowl and my favorite quarterback in a minute. But in case I didn't say it clearly enough, Stephen A. Smith, you can go directly to hell. I'm tired of this dude getting on the air, on the national airways, bad-mouthing my city, my teams. We don't really care what you think anyway, man. Nobody cares. You get on and do your shtick and use your big words and blow V8 and blah, 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 and yell and scream. And the people who like it are going to like it. And the people who dig it are going to dig it. And they're going to keep watching it. I don't really care. I'm tired of you, though. So I'm going to go ahead and do my thing. I just need it on the record. Not that he'll ever see it. And if he did, he wouldn't give a damn. But I feel better now that I've said it. And that's all I needed. So there's that. Here's the thing. The Super Bowl this year had a little bit of a unique meaning because of obviously Matthew Stafford, right? So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the game. I want to talk about the Lions, where the Lions are. I'm not gonna do a Rams podcast. I have no interest in doing that. I will talk a little bit about the Lions and like my feelings of the Lions shouldn't care about this, right? Fans clearly do. I think the Lions knew what they were doing a year and a few days ago. I don't think they would do anything differently. I certainly don't think they did anything wrong. I think that for the Lions, it was about the future a year and a few days ago when they made the Stafford trade. And I feel like it was like the 30th or 31st of January, if that matters. I feel like today for the Lions is still about the future. So it doesn't matter. So I'm going to touch on the game a little bit, talk about the Lions, and then I'm going to talk a whole lot about number 9 because I said, I don't know, 3 years ago when I launched this podcast, if you don't like Stafford, you might not get down with my podcast. And I'm okay with that because I'm an unapologetic Matthew Stafford fan. I was 3 years ago. You can go back. They're recorded. You can go to Cornbread and Kool-Aid on Facebook, and you can go back before I change the name, and there's long podcasts after every game. I had a segment called Stafford. I talked about the game. I talked about stats. And then I carved out 10, 15 minutes just to talk about him. I have never made any secret that this guy is one of my favorite players when he played for the team. And I used to have a rule. It was actually Chris's rule. My friend Chris, if you listen enough, I mentioned him enough. My friend Chris's rule was once you leave my team, you're dead to me. I used to apply that rule pretty much to everybody. There were a couple of guys that got exceptions from that rule. Not with Matthew Stafford. When I heard the rumor, because the Lions announced a week before they were looking at trading him. And I told everybody who was interested, who cared, I'll still root for Matthew Stafford no matter where he goes. And then the super producer extraordinaire and I did a joint podcast, I don't know, 2 or 3 days after the trade. Mike and I got on and Mike says, what do you think this means? I called it at the time the unicorn of trades because for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's just a competitive nature of people or sports fans, when two teams make a trade, and most of this is the media, in my opinion, the media needs to call someone the winner of the trade and someone the loser of the trade. This team did better than that team. The reality is that if two teams are in different places, two franchises are in different places in their evolution, it is possible for both teams to win. So this trade had four main components. There's the Lions, there's the Rams, and then there's Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff, the quarterback the Lions received in return. So the idea was who won the trade. And I got on the air a couple of days after the trade, maybe the day after the trade. Mike and I did a Stafford trade podcast. You can look it up. You can pull it up on YouTube. You can listen to it after you listen to this one. That's a lot of attention on me. I don't know if you need to do that. But I said at the time, it's a unicorn of trades because everybody won. I said at the time, the Lions, that trade, which was a third round pick, 2 ones, and Jared Goff, was more than any of us thought they would get in exchange for Matthew Stafford. It was a really great deal. I said the Rams got the quarterback they needed to take them to the Super Bowl. You can look it up. I'm not patting myself on the back. I literally thought the Rams were a quarterback away, and the quarterback they got in the trade was the quarterback they needed. Just because I turned out to be right doesn't make me like arrogant or braggadocious. I just happen to have been absolutely right. So it was great for Stafford, obviously, because I felt like I called him, and you can go back and listen, not doing the thing, right? I said he was a Hall of Famer a year ago. I said if he puts together 2 or 3 more years along the same trajectory he's played for the last 4 years, he's a no doubt Hall of Famer. And if he got a ring, and Mike says, will he need a ring to get it? And I said, a ring makes it a virtual certainty. He's got as many rings as Aaron Rodgers. That's not a comparison. I'm just saying his numbers are great, and he's got a ring now. So I think that him going to the Hall of Fame should no longer be a question. This presumes if he doesn't retire tomorrow, this presumes he plays a couple more years, so the statistics are even better, right? But I called it, and it was good for Jared Goff because Jared Goff figured something out around midseason and played a lot better the second half of last year. I think a year later, I feel exactly the same way. The Rams got their Super Bowl. The Lions are in a great position to do exactly what they want to do, which is build their team through the draft. Goff is in a great position because they extended his contract to have a really solid season this season and get another contract, be it from the Lions or someone else. And Matthew Stafford solidified his Hall of Fame. Well, began to put the nail in the Hall of Fame coffin. So a year and a week, or a year and a few days later, I feel exactly the same way about that trade. I think it worked out for everybody. Nobody lost in that trade. I can't find the loser because I think where the Lions are going to be in 2 years, and that's just a thing. People are weird. 2 years from now, we talk about this when Stafford is close to or potentially retired, maybe with 2 Super Bowl rings, who knows? And the Lions are competing for like real playoff spots. Everybody's going to look back and go, okay, maybe the Lions won. You'll see a couple of first round picks that we like. Everybody won. Trust me, no matter when this happens, unless the Lions mess up the draft picks, which still doesn't mean it was a bad trade. It just means they didn't execute the picks well. So we're here to talk mostly about that. I could talk Pistons. I could go on and tell you how much I dislike Stephen A. Smith for 45 minutes. I could do a whole Stephen A. Smith sucks podcast. But like I said, he doesn't care. I actually don't care that much. And if you're a fan of the Lions and a fan of this podcast, you have no desire to hear me bloviate about Stephen A. Smith for 45 minutes. So let's talk about the game first. Right, 23-20 Rams win. Everybody knows that part. A couple interesting things. I was surprised the impact of OBJ's injury. I thought Odell Beckham, as it turned out, probably benefited from how defenses generally play Cooper Kupp, and specifically how the Bengals decided to play Cooper Kupp yesterday. I thought that McVay showed an odd commitment to running the football that I did not understand. He was totally dedicated to it. Like it wasn't working. It wasn't working at all. And he kept doing it, which was odd considering you have Matthew Stafford now. You don't need to do that. Let Matthew Stafford go win you the game. which of course he did in typical comeback Matthew Stafford fashion. Look up the numbers. No quarterback has as many comeback wins as he does. And you can make jokes about he was a Lion, he was always trailing. I don't really care. I would say to you, because he was with the Lions, he didn't have as many opportunities. He should have a lot more. But what it shows you is the word clutch, right? So that when you're in the Super Bowl and you're down 4 and you get the ball with 6 minutes left, you feel differently. You know your quarterback is capable of leading a 15-play drive to win the Super Bowl. You know it. That's why you traded for that guy. You have 10 years, 12 years in Detroit, but he didn't play a lot his first 2 years. You have a decade of data that says 6 minutes left, I'm down 4 in the Super Bowl, and I can have any quarterback in the league lead this drive. High on that list is Matthew Stafford. And this is not me. And the reason I kept mentioning like what I said a year ago on a podcast, this is not me. This is not hindsight. This is not some 2020 revisionist history crap. This is what I said a year ago, not because, I'm the smartest guy in the room. No, it's because I've watched every game that dude's played. I'm disagreeing with guys like my own brother, who for years during the game says he sucks. He sucks. And my brother, when I talk to him, will make up an excuse. He will say they didn't win because of Stafford. There are people, and he might admit it, but there are people who want it both ways. When he was in Detroit, it was his fault they didn't win. And now he goes to the Rams, and all I heard today was he was on a super team. That team had a lot of talent. He literally is being penalized for playing for a good team. This doesn't count. This says nothing about him because he had a stacked roster. What the hell do you want him to do? You want him to take a bad team and win a Super Bowl? I'm going to wait for you to name the quarterback. And don't tell me Tom Brady did that in New England. That is not what happened. New England had teams. They had good defenses. They had players. They had receivers even. He had Randy Moss one year. They had guys like Welker, and they had guys who could play. And people act like he just had guys off the streets playing receiver, which is nonsense. And they were in a system where they had the same coordinator and the same coach for years. And Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback to ever play, by the way. So that's horrible. Don't do that. Don't tell me Aaron Rodgers never had receivers, because I think it's crap. Because I think Jordy Nelson was a good receiver. Devontae Adams might be the best in the game right now. Even back when he had Freeman and Driver. Maybe he didn't play with Freeman. Maybe that was Favre. Don't tell me these guys took crap teams and took them to the Super Bowl. That's nonsense. And oh, by the way, these are some of the best in the game. And nobody, including me, the most unapologetic Matthew Stafford fan there is, has ever compared him to those guys. But if you're going to tell me Peyton didn't have elite defense in Denver, you're going to tell me even Trent Dilfer had one of the greatest defenses of all time in Baltimore? What are we talking about? This double standard with him has always perplexed me. And I probably seem upset, and I'm not. I still don't get it. Even now, he went and did what everybody put on his shoulders. As soon as that trade happened, nobody in this league had more pressure on them than Matthew Stafford. As soon as that trade was made a year and a half ago, everybody got on TV and said, they got to win a Super Bowl. They went and got him to win a Super Bowl. He's got to win a Super Bowl. He's got to show us that it was Detroit, not him. And all he did was do it. Do it. He did it the same way he always does it. There are guys like, you knew he was going to throw interceptions. In the game, can we be real? The one interception was 3rd and 14. They weren't in field goal position. He chucked one up into the end zone. He went for it. That was a glorified punt. Because an incomplete pass on that play, they're punting anyway. Stop it. The other one was a tip ball off the hands of a receiver. And you could say, oh, it was behind him or in front of him. Crap. That's crap. If a receiver in the National Football League gets both his hands on the ball, he's supposed to catch it 100% of the time. If he gets one hand, at minimum, he knocks it down or catches it. Neither of those interceptions should count against him. But if you have an agenda and you're a hater and you want to bash him, go ahead. I'm not that guy. I'm not even defending him. I don't know why I would have to defend a guy who just won a Super Bowl. So call this whatever you want. There will be no bashing of number 9 on this podcast because there never is. There never was. He had 2 or 3 bad games in the 3 years I've done this podcast. In the 2 years I did the podcast when he played for the Lions, I can count on a couple of fingers how many times I bashed him. Now, that is to say two things. One, there's a reason this podcast is called the Cornbread and Kool-Aid Podcast. I'm not the guy that calls the radio station in the afternoon and pretends I know everything. I'm not dumbass Dan, right? I'm slightly objective, but leaning way more toward a fan of the team. We'll never apologize for it. And if you don't like it, I'm cool if you don't listen to it. It's cool. But I'm also very realistic because I watched every game in this dude's career before he got traded. Every game in his career. I saw it. While everyone else, including my own brother, who I love, told me he sucked. I was on the podcast saying he's going to the Hall of Fame, guys. I think he's going to the Hall of Fame. Am I watching something different? And everybody go back to the same thing. He's going to make the Stafford mistake. I explained the Stafford mistakes in games when he was here, and he did it this year. He is phenomenally talented. When you are that good and you have that cannon for a right arm, you have a degree of arrogance. You think you can do anything. And when you have that gunslinger mentality, you try stuff that other guys don't try. No disrespect to Jared Goff. Jared Goff will never throw as many interceptions as Matthew Stafford because Jared Goff will never try and throw certain passes that Matthew Stafford will. It is no slight against Goff. It's actually a compliment. Goff knows who he is. Matthew Stafford believes he can make any throw. And like 8 out of 10 times he does. Right? So just the whole thing coming out of yesterday was like, and he handled it so well. He's handled the whole thing with class. He's never badmouthed Detroit. He's never badmouthed the Lions. He's only said good things. And he said, look, it's a pleasure being here with this group of guys. They work really hard. And he was very, very happy. And he deserves it. So if you're salty, I don't get it. I don't even get it. Okay, back to the game. But the comeback thing I think is important. There's a clutch gene. Everybody doesn't have it. It's a big deal. I think Cooper Kupp continued to show why he's one of the top players in the league this past year. He deserved to be in MVP conversation. And when that game got dicey and it was time for them Odell was out. They were struggling. They couldn't run the ball. Stafford just said, hey, I'm going to throw it to that dude. And my good friend Bill Carroll on another podcast that I do often talks about that dude. That dude's different. That dude is the guy who says, yeah, when nothing else is working, just throw me the ball. And I think McVay even said it afterwards. Stafford and Kupp just said, okay, let's go win the Super Bowl. And there's something in Matthew Stafford. It's been there from the broken collarbone in Cleveland situation that you can go back and look up. There's something in that dude's genetics that says, let's just go get this. I'm going to go get this. I'm going to go do it. And everybody doesn't have it. Everybody doesn't do it. And he's got a career. Just a career of statistics of you're down 4 in a Super Bowl. Everybody's watching. 6 minutes left. You're down 4. You need a 15-play drive that ends in a touchdown to win the Super Bowl. Who do you want? I'm not glorifying him. This actually happened 24 hours ago. So make sure you understand. This is not me making up some narrative to glorify Stafford. I think if you ask Sean McVay, because they gave up Goff a third and 2 ones, the answer for the LA Rams, Les Snead, Stan Kroenke, the owner of the Rams, and Sean McVay, the answer to the question was Matthew Stafford. And that's how it played out. So Cooper Kupp probably deserved MVP. I would not have certainly been unhappy if Stafford had gotten it. Quite frankly, I think the most dominant player on the field was Aaron Donald. I think the most dominant player in the league might be Aaron Donald. I don't know that it's even fair for one grown man to treat another grown man or grown men, because he gave the business to virtually everybody on the Bengals line. And I got friends that are Bengal fans, and I'm sorry, guys. Aaron Donald's a different kind of thing, though. He was so good yesterday. He was good. He was good. The last 2 plays were Aaron Donald. I would have given it to him, but it's fine. Kupp caught 2 touchdowns. I can't argue Cooper Kupp. If you told me I had a vote, Aaron Donald would have, as much as I love Stafford, Aaron Donald would have gotten my vote because the word dominance is not that easy to throw around in a Super Bowl, right? Guys don't dominate the Super Bowl because they're generally playing another good team. Aaron Donald was dominant at times, right? Particularly like once they had to play where they pushed him out of bounds and he pushed Joe Burrow out of bounds and they got a little scuffle. It was like a light bulb. He was playing well already, but something happened and he went bananas in the last few minutes of that game. And I think it was just he wanted a ring. It was there. And he knew he's going to. And Von Miller played great. Leonard Floyd played well. Ashawn Robinson, former Lion, Collinsworth wanted to marry Ashawn. I was like, I mean, and Ashawn deserved everything he got. He was stuffing the run. So it was impressive. The Rams defensive line. And I think Aaron Donald could have gotten it. So enough about the game. Oh, wait, no. I got to do the proverbial commercials and halftime show. Yeah, okay, halftime show. I liked it, right? That's my kind of music. That's my wheelhouse. I thought that Snoop will always be Snoop. Snoop can, because he's Snoop, right? He'll be doing that another 30 years from now. Like he can still do it, right? I thought everybody was good. I didn't like Batman 50. I don't know what that was about. I didn't need to see 50 Cent hanging upside down. I don't even know where it fit in the whole thing, right? I don't mind him at all. I like his TV shows probably more than his music, but I loved Mary. I think Mary should have got more time because she's classic. She never goes away. And save all your old people jokes. That was a good show. I thought the production was very nice. Like I said, I take or leave 50. I'm not a huge Kendrick Lamar guy. Everything else I loved. The commercials were solid. There was a whole lot of electric vehicle, phone, internet, and crypto, right? That was the dominant themes were crypto, electric vehicles, and new internet phone services, T-Mobile and Verizon or whatever. I probably, if I got to pick one, there was one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Selma Hayek. I think it was for a BMW electric vehicle. I dug that one. They were solid. I liked the Austin Powers one. That was cool. There was a GM one with Leslie Jones, Rashida Jones, and Tommy Lee Jones, and then one of the Jonas Brothers dropped in. That was cool. So get all that stuff aside. Okay, enough about the game. Congrats to the Rams, I guess. To me, it was just about Stafford. I like that. I like Ashawn. I liked Ashawn. He didn't really fit though. I don't know about that. He could have fit, but it's okay. So if you're salty, we can get into it. I guess I can get Twitter pages open. I already had somebody hit me on Twitter and go, "Stop the Stafford Love Fest." What's his name? JL98, whatever that means, like JAYEJEL. I'm sorry, EEL. Is that Jaleel? No, JEL. JL98. You might as well go wash dishes or do some laundry because I will not stop the Stafford Love Fest, not today. And this is not really about that. It's a lot of them. I'm going to talk Lions. I want to talk the Lions. That's all I care about, right? But we got to talk about him. Come on, the dude just won a Super Bowl. He spent 12 seasons with our team. I'm trying to understand the narratives. So the Lions, right? So because the Rams won the Super Bowl, the true impact to the Lions is that pick for this draft coming up in April in the first round is now the 32nd pick. There are people trying to sell me on the narrative that that's just horrible. And my feeling is you don't understand the NFL draft or you just want to hate. Either way, right? Because the approval rating on that trade a year and a few days ago was like 90%, 95%. And it still should be. Because here's the thing. Again, I'm patting myself on the back a lot. I don't normally do this. Mike and I told you the Rams are going to be in the Super Bowl. That pick is going to be in the low 20s or even in the 30s. I think I said that pick's going to be 30, 31, 32. I'm almost certain I said it because I said the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl. So anybody who now is like, oh, no, I'm salty, that trade is dropping. You either believe that there's only like 25 good players in the draft, which really means you don't know anything about the draft. And there's no point in me telling you that. I assure you that if Brad Holmes is good at his job, and I have evidence to suggest he is, that pick is going to be a good player who's going to help this team win football games. If you don't believe that, then that's fine. That's fine. But somehow you think their second round pick at 34 is good. And there's all kinds of intrinsic value for that 32nd pick. Here's something that you may or may not know. Right? First round picks generally sign 5-year deals, 4 years plus an option for the 5th year. That year is a big deal, particularly if they decide to go for a quarterback. It gives you another year to evaluate the guy before you're forced to sign him or franchise tag him. And even better, in the case of the Lions, you get down to 30, 31, and there's one of these quarterbacks on the board. Carson Strong's on the board, or Desmond Ritter's on the board, Sam Howell's on the board. Another team wants to take advantage of the extra year on a first-round draft pick versus a second-round draft pick. You draft that guy 33 or 34, he's going to get a 4-year deal, which means that after his third year, you've got to make a decision if he's your quarterback. If you're an organization, you want that extra year. So you take him 32 with the Lions pick, you could sign him to a 5-year deal. So you could have 4 years to evaluate him, right? So there is a real value to that pick that might not even be about the Lions. Somebody else could want to come up and get a quarterback, and maybe we don't love any of the quarterbacks there. And somebody wants us to move from 32 to say 36 or 37. And they're going to throw in a couple more picks because it's that big a deal to get that extra year to evaluate that quarterback. So don't be short-sighted and just think, oh, it's the last pick in the first round. It's a very important pick. Whether they use it or trade it, that pick has value. Value that the pick at 34, 2 picks later, does not have. You got to look at this thing holistically and not just buy all the nonsense you hear in the afternoon on the sports radio. That's crazy, right? We knew all along that pick was going to be low 20s because we knew Stafford was the piece the Rams were missing. 2 or 3 spots. If somehow you woke up a year and a couple of days ago and said, I think the Rams are an average team and this pick is going to be 25, you're talking about 7 draft spots. So there's some guy you think is going to be great at 25. 7 picks later, that guy's a bum. There's no more good players. What's your number? What's the number where you've got those are only good players in the draft and anything after that? Because if you woke up a year and a couple of days ago and that number was 25, you were a pipe dream anyway. Because we knew the Rams are going to be a good football team. That pick was probably not going to be 25. So this whole thing of how now people are pissed and they're salty because the Rams won the Super Bowl and the pick's at 32 when 6 weeks ago, a year ago, you were fine thinking it was going to be 23, 24, 25. No, man, that's some situational crap. That pick, it was good a year ago and it's good now. And if you don't have confidence that Brad Holmes knows how to do his job, then that's a different conversation. I don't know what you base it on. Nothing about that pick changes. Nothing changes for the Lions. The Lions are still in a great situation. You know, the new narrative this week is there was an offer from Carolina and the Lions should have taken it because the Rams are in the Super Bowl and that pick's 32 because Carolina was offering the 8 pick and Teddy Bridgewater. So there's so many pieces to that. I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but if you think Bridgewater is significantly better than Goff, we just disagree. I'm not saying either is great. I'm actually saying there's no gap. If you're saying they could have got Penei Sewell at 7, Micah Parsons at 8, yeah, that's revisionist history. Congratulations. You're really good at that because that's true. We have no evidence or no knowledge that they would have taken Micah Parsons. They might have taken Justin Fields. They might have taken anybody. We don't know who they would have taken. But it's cool if it fits your narrative to do that. But essentially what you're actually saying is that the 8th pick in the draft last year is more valuable than a 3rd-round pick and 2 1s. That's what you're saying. Well, first of all, you're saying Bridgewater is better than Goff, which I don't agree. And you'd rather have the 8th pick in this past draft than a 3rd and 21, a 1st and 22, and a 1st and 23. Then I would suggest you don't understand where the Lions were in their evolution. You don't understand that in a rebuild, in a true rebuild, draft capital is immense. Right now, they have 5 of the top 98 picks. They might not even pick a player at 32. They could take 32, package it with 66, and maybe move up to 15, 18. Who knows, right? And still get somebody they want. You just don't understand the value of a 1st-round draft pick in a rebuild because maybe you thought that getting Bridgewater and Sewell and Parsons would have made him a playoff team this year. I suggest you haven't watched that many games. That was not going to happen. And if you do believe that Bridgewater is significantly better than Goff, which I don't, and you think the guy they would have gotten at 8, even if you said it was Micah Parsons, the defensive rookie of the year, How many more games would the Lions have won? I suggest not many, because there's a ton of holes. That's why a third and 2 ones makes more sense than that single one. Now, Brad Holmes still has to do his job. Still has to do his job and go make those picks matter. But if this is a simple instant gratification thing, that's nonsense. If this is some saltiness about Stafford winning a Super Bowl, that's real nonsense. I mean, like next level nonsense, because it doesn't change anything about the trade. Revisionist history changes nothing about the trade. And I am excited that Brad Holmes has 5 of the top 98 picks, because I'm not even digging deeper. I'm not going to that granular level that tells you, hey, you know what he did in the 4th round? He drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown. That was a 4th round pick. What if he nails another 4th round? Plus, because 66 and 98 are 3rd round picks. So he's got 2 and 32 in the 1st round. 34 is the 2nd round pick. 66 and 98 are 3rd round picks. What if he cleans up on all 5 of those picks and then finds another gem like Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th? And Stafford's $31 million comes up to cap, and they signed 2 players. You've added 8 players to this roster. I don't want to do the thing. I did it in the postseason podcast. You have to understand where the team is. So if you're one of those people who think the Carolina trade was a better trade, we just disagree. I question if you knew how bad the Lions were, how badly Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia gutted this team with bad signings, with bad draft positions, with bad contracts, whether it was a Jamie Collins or Vitae, although he played well at guard, right? Think about this. The Rams roster that just won the Super Bowl had 22 players that were drafted while Brad Holmes was there. 22 players, 40-ish% of their roster were drafted players. My point is 3 draft picks are better than 1, especially if your guy knows how to draft. So I think Brad Holmes is at the start of a very good process. This is the make or break, right? Dan Campbell got better. You're either happy with him or you're not, whatever the case may be. Brad Holmes on the clock now. We know that. Brad Holmes knows that. He's got 5 of the top 98 picks. And he's got cap money. He's got flexibility to make trades, to move around. He's got 2 ones next year. He could package one of those ones with something this year and move up. This team will be significantly better if Brad Holmes does his job well. And if he doesn't, then none of this matters. If it turns out that all we know about Brad Holmes is wrong, and somehow he's going to forget how to evaluate talent, and he's going to forget how to read data, and he's going to all of a sudden lose all of this understanding that he has demonstrated both with the Rams and last year with the Lions that he has, it just vanishes. He just wakes up one morning and has no idea how to scout or draft. Then it doesn't matter. Then none of it matters. But you know what doesn't matter at all? That Stafford won a Super Bowl yesterday. It doesn't matter. So what for the Lions, it doesn't matter. So if you're salty about that, look in the mirror and figure out what the hell's wrong with you. Because you should have known the Rams are going to be very good. Pick 32 is a very good pick. In theory, is it not as good as 25? Of course. Is it still a very good pick? Yes. Does it matter if Brad Holmes is as good as his job? It doesn't matter. So cut it out. Stop it. All right. Now let's talk about number 9. So a friend hit me this morning and said, look, don't just do your podcast today and just gush, right? It's not a good look. He actually used the word optics. The optics of you in your Lions shirt talking about how happy you are for Matthew Stafford will not land well with your audience, with other Lions fans. They're not going to like that. And I think he's wrong. I'm not going to do it. But I think he's wrong. I think that there is a balance. There is this place on that spectrum that says, look, when I was watching that game, who was I rooting for? I was rooting for the Rams. I wasn't rooting for the Rams. I was rooting for Matthew Stafford, right? There's a place on that spectrum that says, I never blamed him for the last 10 years. That's a different kind of fan. That's the dude that calls into the radio station every afternoon bitching and complaining because they need somebody to blame. That's the dude who uses a double standard and blames Stafford for the Lions not winning a playoff game in the 12 years he was here, but not giving him any credit for the 4 straight he just ripped off in the past month and a half, whatever, right? He says Arizona wasn't a good team. That wasn't that big a deal, right? He says the Tampa Bay game wasn't that big a deal, you know. Oh, okay, that's just Tom Brady and the Super Bowl champs, right? He says the 49er game was none of those were Stafford. Those were all team games, all teams, right? It was all that they, and he gets no credit for yesterday. They'll blame the refs. They'll do all kinds of stuff. That's just who that person is, and that's cool. I don't care. I don't care. Here's the thing. I watched every game the guy played until this year. I was always simply put, I like him as a guy. I think he was a very good quarterback. Never used the word elite. I never used the word elite. I don't even know if I use the word great. I might have used the word great because I think he's right there, especially now. I think you can use the word great and be fine. Here's the difference. There's a select group of guys that are different. Brady's in a different class. I don't talk about Tom Brady alongside Matt Stafford. That's crazy. Even guys that I think Marino and Elway and Peyton and Aikman even, they're different level. They accomplished more. You don't have to do that comparison. But there are people now, Richard Sherman's out here saying Stafford doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. He's all stats. Okay, then you just didn't watch him that much. Because I watched him play on teams where there were those who said he had weapons. He had Calvin Johnson, and he had, I don't know why people think Kenny Golladay was a weapon, but fine. He had Golden Tate. Great. I'd like you to tell me, other than the one Terrell Austin defense in, I'm going to say 14 maybe, that was 7th or 8th. When did he have a top 15 defense? I'm going to ask you to tell me all the times, with the exception possibly of one Joique Bell and Reggie Bush year, did they have a top 15 running game? Here's the deal. It is not that complicated. Football is a team game. All those quarterbacks we talk about, they don't win it by themselves. As much as the media, especially the four-letter, would like you to believe Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowls. The Patriots won 6, went to like 8, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won 1. Tom Brady was the quarterback of all those teams. Tom Brady was an integral part. First of all, take Tom Brady out. So let's go through the rest of the group. Aaron Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl. 1. Same amount of Stafford. Has tremendous stats. Has been to the playoffs a bunch of times. He's got 1 Super Bowl, right? He's got 4 MVPs. Okay, he's got 1 Super. What's the measure? If it's stats, you can't go Richard Sherman and say Stafford's just a stat guy. Can't call him Stat Pafford. If it's rings, he's got 1. He's got 1. And he might get another one. If they bring this back, he can get another one. What is the measure? Because Marino, nobody's going to argue, and he has no rings. I'm one of the people who thinks he's in the top 3 or 4. I don't want to hear anybody tell me Dan Marino wasn't one of the greatest quarterbacks. I'm not listening to that. But what are we talking about? Russell Wilson is great, and he only has 1. Eli has 2. Is Eli better than Stafford? That's a conversation we can have. Is Eli? No. I'm sorry, he's not. Both of Eli's Super Bowl teams were wild card teams, and they both had great defenses. But Eli is probably going to go. I don't know if he go to Hall of Fame. I don't know. I don't know the Eli question. I know Eli's got 2 rings, and he's considered great. So if it's about the rings, you're going to have to dial back the nonsense. You're going to have to dial back the nonsense because he was the quarterback of the Super Bowl champs. He is the quarterback of the Super Bowl champs. So you got to dial back the rhetoric. You cannot double standard this guy anymore. He's making it very difficult now for you to double standard him. And I thought it was unfair a year ago, before the trade, when he had no playoff wins, when people blamed him for the ref picking up the flag in Dallas, when people blamed him for all the playoff games he didn't win, when people ignored all of the comeback wins, people ignored him playing hurt, being tough and being clutch, and they ignored that and just said, no playoff wins, no playoff wins. That was the narrative. That was every afternoon on the radio in Detroit. No playoff wins. He's nothing. Now he goes to a good team and they want to flip the narrative and say, he's on a stacked roster. He's got a great team. There are people using dumb analogies like a marriage. You got divorced and he went off with a hot guy and got married the first year. That's dumb. They agreed mutually. And oh, by the way, the Lions are going to reap tremendous benefit from this trade. They are. I don't understand. And for those of you who are listening and thinking, wow, this guy loves Stafford, that's not, well, no, that is true. That's true. That's not what's happening right now. What's happening is I'm trying to figure out how to navigate through this whole double standard when we can't just, why can't we appreciate a guy that played for our team? Even after he's gone, we're still a great player, one of the greatest in the history of our franchise. It's totally trending toward a yellow jacket in Canton, Ohio. And we just refuse to show him any love. He just won't do it. Nope, nope, nope. He didn't win here. He couldn't win. Our team wasn't good enough. Our team, we never had a team as good as this Ram team. We never had a team that could be on the field with this Rams team. So if you want to blame him because he asked to be traded, I don't know what to tell you. If you want to blame him because the Lions chose to trade him to the Rams, I don't know what to tell you because that's a great trade. If you want to be mad that the Rams traded for Jalen Ramsey and gave up a bunch of picks, that they traded for Von Miller, that they drafted Aaron Donald when we didn't, by the way, thanks, Eric Ebron. Yeah, I still blame you. Actually, I blame Martin Mayhew. It's Mayhew? Yeah, I think it was a Mayhew pick. You can be mad about all that. I don't know how you blame Matthew Stafford for asking for a trade, for walking into that office and say, listen, you guys are about to rebuild. I respect that. I get what you're doing. New GM, new coach. You're going to rebuild this thing. I want you guys. Good luck. I don't really want to be a part of that. I'm 31. I don't want to be a part of that. Can we talk about trades? And the team said, we got you, Matt. We understand. That makes sense. Let's see what we can get. There's a rumor that they had a great trade from Carolina on the table, right? The Bridgewater and 8. And they were going to do it. And then the Rams said, wait a minute, time out. Let's get this done. And if you don't like the trade now, you liked it before and you don't like it now, please hit the Twitter feed and tell me why. If you didn't like the trade a year ago, please hit the Twitter feed and tell me why. If somehow you can't, after he just stacked up 4 playoff wins, including the one that counts, see this guy for what he is and what he was, and you're salty that he didn't do it here because somehow you believe he did it by himself in LA. No, because you won't give him credit for that. So you got to pick one. You got to either say, wait, it's a team game. The Rams were a better team. It makes sense that he won a Super Bowl. Or he lifted the Rams by himself. You're going to ignore Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald and Von Miller. You're going to ignore everybody else. Jalen Ramsey. Ignore all those dudes and say Stafford carried the Rams to a Super Bowl. Then I don't know what you're watching, right? The overall message here is simple. Rooting against him makes no sense to me. You're just a salty person. Because I can't find a logical reason. I'm not saying you have to root for him. Don't get confused. Because you don't. You don't. And I know we as Lion fans, nah, hell no, not we. You, a lot of Lions fans, probably aren't listening, have selective memories, right? We want to blame somebody for what we've been going through. And I get that. He ain't the guy. I've done entire podcasts telling you who to blame. You have to blame William Clay Ford for a lot of stuff, for hiring Russ Thomas back in the day. I don't think you should be mad at anybody for the Chuck Schmidt era. That was some entertaining football. They made some great selections. They made playoff runs. They didn't get over the hump, but I don't have a problem with the Chuck Schmidt era. You squarely blame William Clay Ford Sr. for the hiring of Matt Millen and the decade that followed, because that was all Matt Millen. That's it. And when he hired Mayhew, you got to blame him for that. You blame the GMs, right? I don't even blame that many coaches. Didn't love Marinelli. I thought Morningwig was okay. I like Schwartz. The problem has always been at the GM level, the guy who ran personnel. So you want to keep blaming because Fords need to sell the team. No, Fords need to make better hires. That was always the answer. There is no such thing as SOL. Bobby Lane didn't curse the team. Stop it. Just stop the nonsense, right? If you want to blame someone, I've got your list of guys. Started with Russ Thomas. Probably started before that. But let's go this order. Russ Thomas. You can be mad at Chuck Schmidt if you want. Matt Millen, Martin Mayhew, Bob Quinn. That's your list. That's the level of the organization that has been inept for the better part of 55 years. That's who you blame. But you choose to blame Matthew Stafford. You choose to blame Sheila, who's been running the team for a year and a half. But no, you're going to put all this at the feet of Sheila Fordham. That's ludicrous. What are we doing? Right? So you can think what you want about me. You can think what you want about Stafford. You can have selective memory if you want. You can ignore his stats and his accomplishments. You can ignore the comebacks. You can ignore that he was a good dude who was good in the community, who has never said a bad word about this team. Never. You can ignore all that and just be mad at Matthew Stafford because he got a ring. I suggest you're jealous, not really mad. Okay, cool. Or you could say, look, cool. Guy won a Super Bowl. Congrats. We got 2 number 1 picks and a 3rd round pick, plus a quarterback that can bridge us to the next one, right? You can look at the Lions' future and think about the Lions' future, or you can just be salty and be mad. You could say he threw 2 interceptions in the Super Bowl. Okay. You can ignore that one was a glorified punt and the other was a tip ball. Sure. You can be mad that the pick is 32 and not 25. Or you can go study the draft and look at all the great players that were drafted 32 or later. You can look at Brad Holmes' track record and suggest that having 5 of the top 98 picks is a great place to be for this Lion team. Where the Lions are now, what they did last year in the draft, and they got some good players. If you didn't see Penei Sewell, okay, great. If you didn't see Amon-Ra, okay, great. Whatever. You're not even watching, right? And you're probably not listening to this podcast. But if you don't think Penei Sewell has a bright future and Amon-Ra has a bright future, I would tell you Derek Barnes probably has a solid future, as well as Aleem McNeil, and maybe owns Enrique. I believe there's good players. I think Melon Fonwu has a future. I think they picked up young guys like Jerry Jacobs that can contribute. I think the running back, Reynolds, has a future. So does Jamar Jefferson. And they have 5 of the top 98 picks and a bunch of cap space. Stop thinking about Stafford. Stop being mad at Stafford. Stop talking about Stafford. Congratulations, Matt Stafford. I personally am happy for you. I don't see any reason to be salty because I think the Lions are set up. We know they're in a rebuild. They're set up for a great rebuild. The reality is Brad Holmes is on the clock. Brad Holmes got to do his job. But the final narrative, what you should take away from what happened on Sunday, is that football is a team game. It was never Matthew Stafford's fault that the Lions sucked. And Matthew Stafford wasn't the only reason they won yesterday. Because if you didn't see number 99, okay, I don't know what you're watching. So I don't get it. I don't get it. So look, at the end of the day, I'm still very happy with where the Lions are. I am happy for Matthew Stafford. I don't generally buy in that this guy deserves to go somewhere and win it. No, you don't. Everybody works hard. Every guy in the league deserves it. They all work hard. They're busting their butts. They're sacrificing time from their family. I don't know one guy deserves it more than anyone else. I certainly don't believe he suffered in Detroit for all those years like that jackass on the 4-letter keeps saying. Sorry, in case you missed the start of the podcast, Stephen A. Smith can go directly to hell on a bullet train. I'm done with that guy. I wish to God he could hear this. And never mind. I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. Matthew Stafford's going to go to the Hall of Fame. If that makes you upset, that's unfortunate. I think the Lions are in a good spot. I'm happy with where the Lions are. I can both of those things can coexist. I can still love the trade. I can be thrilled with where the Lions are in their rebuild. I can be happy for Matthew Stafford, and everything can still be good. So I don't know. You can feel what you want to feel. I get it. I understand. No, I don't. That's all. I wanted to hit on those things. I think coming up, I'm gonna touch on the Pistons. We're gonna do one in a couple weeks here. We're gonna touch on the Pistons. If baseball comes around, I'll do a Tiger one. I really wanted to do a Piston/Tiger one coming up because spring training should be opening in a couple weeks and it's not. Shame on baseball. Shame on the leadership of Major League Baseball. So we'll get back at it. Probably something Piston heavy, March Madness heavy in the next week or two. And we'll see where baseball is then. And then, football never stops for me. We're gonna do something around free agency. I would think that'll be mid-March. We'll probably do something around the combine a couple weeks later. We're gonna do a pre-draft. We're gonna do a post-draft. So we're gonna get back at full speed here on the cornbread and Kool-Aid. So I hope you enjoyed tonight. I'm sure some people didn't. because I was probably not as polite and nice as I should. If Stephen A. Smith ever hears about it, I'm sure he won't, but you guys know how I feel about him. Um, I like where the Lions are. I like where the Pistons are too, by the way. But I like where the Lions are. Guys, let's just be patient. This is your 2023 NFC North champs. I called it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I like what they're doing. I trust Brad Holmes, and we're going to be fine. So just congratulate that man and let him enjoy his trophy, okay? All right. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, super producer extraordinaire Mike Ward, always getting shout out. That's my guy. That's the dude. He is the reason this thing exists. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I want you to keep listening anyway. But other than that, we will talk to you soon, and I'm out.